Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Possibly so. We'll see in a second. Hello, hello, hello! If you're jumping on, please say hello in the comments. You can tell I'm quite lonely here today. Leo said, no, I'm not saying hi to you. How are you feeling today? Hello, everybody. Hi, Kamisha. Great to see you. Yes, as you're jumping on, feel free to share how you're feeling today. I've got on how I'm feeling today. I'd love to know how you're doing, maybe where you're coming from. What's going on with y'all? It's been a minute. I was totally just playing the track 9 for this release. I was like, I have to turn that off. Facebook's going to copyright me. Thanks, Leo. Hello, everybody. As you're jumping on, it's so great to talk to my computer by myself. So feel free to send through in the comments how you are feeling today. We have got an exciting 30 minutes ahead of us. Hey, Myrna, good to see you. Your comment, that is. I wish I could see y'all's faces. Wouldn't that be fun? A chaotic Zoom window of every body attacker in the United States. Instructor, that is. That would be wild. Hello. Hello, Dana. Perfect. So, yeah, folks, as you're jumping on, feel free to share where you're at, how you're feeling today. It's very good to be here with you. It is 9 p.m. on the East Coast, so I've had a few texts today, folks, saying you're cutting into Grandpa and Grandma's bedtime tonight, Judson. And I said, West Coast folks, y'all need the opportunity to have a nighttime session too, you know? Fabulous. Okay, y'all. So as numbers are starting to pop in and it's good to see you, I just wanted to introduce myself. So I'm Judson MacDonald. I'm based out of Durham, North Carolina. I'm a body attack trainer, assessor, and presenter, and I'm so happy to be here. We have a lot to chat about. 112 is one of these releases that I just have fallen in love with automatically. There just hasn't been really any work into it. I mean, I watched it, I listened to it, and here we are. I'm so ready to talk to you about it because we've got a decent amount to cover. And I hope you have some questions too, because there's a lot going on in this release. And I'm sure if you've had the chance to do it, much less just watch it, I would love to chat anything about 112 that you want to, because obviously none of us are obsessed if we're up late watching a 30-minute live with the cutest person in the world. Is there anybody out there? You know, it's funny. I didn't scroll down the comments, so I thought I was just sitting here talking to myself. Okay. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Michael. We got Heather in the house. Hi, Judson. Tuning in from California. Oh, that's awesome. I'll be on my way to come join you soon. Yay, Michael! Just launched 111 tonight. Yes, it's always funny trying to talk about the current release that comes out for us as instructors and then also trying to launch the previous material. Thank you, Leo, for your expertise. Okay, so I think it's time we kind of jump right into it. So again, use the comments to chat, give me some comments, give me some questions, and I want to kind of just chat about what this release means to me and get some ideas about how to make it come alive across the United States for all of us when we do launch it. Awesome. So what I want to talk about tonight is when Body Attack 112 came out, Lisa's main message for the theme of this release is to be your greatest. And what that means is offering options. It means offering modifications to take the intensity and dial it up really high, bring it down really low, and most importantly, be your greatest within this great diverse set of music. One of the biggest things Lisa and the team are doing as we move forward into the body attack future is finding that fine line of mixes of music that are both nostalgic and modern and poppy and energizing. And this is a really good example of where we're going in terms of having tracks that are more nostalgic, hearing some covers of things that may be brand new to us if we're younger. If we're more wiser, we may recognize some of the songs that we may have enjoyed when we were younger as well, in brand new modern EDM mixes, for example, track one, which we'll get to in a second. So that's kind of the theme I want to stick within this evening. So my objective towards the end of this 30 minutes is to help you navigate the musical styles, the focus of being your greatest through options and modifications, and then also just chatting a little bit about the coaching model and how to help that really feel strong and foundational as you teach this release and moving forward into 113 and 114 down the line. Hey Eloy, nice to see you, boo. I never say boo. I think I used to like try that word out a lot, and now I'm just like, it's not my thing. Hey boo. Hey Eloy. Hey girl. Okay. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So track one, if you are in the comments, you've got to tell me who sang this song originally, Like a Prayer, and bonus points if you remember what year it came out. Who sang track one? And while I'm doing that, I'll talk through. So track one is a really fun, energizing warm-up. You gotta tell me who's the artist. Many of your members are gonna recognize this song immediately. It's gonna be a sing-along. So really dive into the lyrics of this track and let those things come alive. As you'll see in the masterclass, there's a really good example of performance using these lyrics towards the end of round three. So I won't spoil the surprise for you. Definitely go watch that and make it your own. Brooke, fine, I'm here. Okay, grandma, whatever you say. All right, so after track one, we get right into track two. And notice here again, when we're talking about musical styles, track one is more of a nostalgic track, and then track two shifts more towards a modern pop song with Jason Derulo. Dana and Jennifer got it. Yes, Madonna, 1989, and I'll trust you didn't Google that. I actually had to because I couldn't remember what year it was out. So yes, it's by Madonna, Like a Prayer. So moving into track two, we get into Let Me See You Dancing. Can't sing anymore because of copyright. So this track obviously has a lot of fun traditional moves that we typically see in a track two, but we do see the innovation of what we call the lunge mambo combo. Ooh, say that again, lunge mambo combo. That'll be really fun to say to your folks. I love the love in the chat. So with this move, I encourage you to really spend some time. If any of the moves across this release, really practice this one. My first few runs of this track, I was like, okay, mambo, done that before. Lunge, whatever. When you do it in time with the music, it actually will slip your feet up a lot, especially since we have different leading legs. So one thing that you'll notice in the coaching is Nick is very intentional to reserve the word step for when we move into the lunge phase. So if you haven't watched the release yet, there is the combination where we have a mambo combination running on the right leg to start, our instructor left foot, and we're moving front and back on the same leg. This progresses into the lunge and the mambo combo. Now, the biggest key difference here is you're gonna start running and jogging, of course, right? So, right, one, two, three, four, ba, ba, ba. When you move into the lunge combo, be really intentional to cue the word step or march. So for example, lunge, walk, walk, lunge, walk, or step, 1, 2, step, 1, 2. The reason for this is when you add the lunge in there, if you try to keep running the combination, it's gonna throw your feet off. And it's really a mind, it messes up your mind so quick. And I think it was, yes, it was, Myrna said this in the chat. Yes, it was Myrna, right? No, sorry, it was Heather said, my legs were so confused trying it. Yeah, same here, Heather. I didn't really anticipate how much that would trip my mind up, but it is a kind of a preparation as we move towards the agility track in this release. So it's really fast. So I'm glad we get the mind turned on really quickly there. So again, when we switch over to the left side for our participants, our instructor right, be really clear with your layer one coaching the basics here as well. So again, lunge, step, step, lunge, or using the word march. to signify that participants don't need to run in the middle between lunges. Otherwise, they're going to slip up and they might get frustrated trying to figure out which leg they're leading on. So practice that beforehand. The song's going to make it come alive. I also wanted to address kind of the really fun moments in the song as well. We've got bounces, and you may have noticed too, we've got like a little bounce and a pivot kind of situation going as well. Make this your own. In the choreography notes, you'll see Lisa has really spelled this out. You know, do what feels most authentic to you. And I guess my biggest nugget of advice here is when you're practicing these moves and you're just listening to the music with them, just let yourself just kind of have a run. Like imagine no one's watching you, try out some new things that just feel natural to you. And then if they feel good when you're practicing alone, try them out in class and exaggerate them a little bit. For example, I really like the pivot, so I've kept that and I plan to keep that when I teach that within the class. And so I may even add some arms to it, something that makes me feel kind of fun in it, and also keep it accessible to your members. That's the biggest thing in being authentic with these kinds of party moments that we have in Body Attack. It doesn't have to be exactly what Lisa and the team do. Believe me, it is more fun and it's more natural feeling when you just own something that you come up with and you just think feels exciting to you and you just let it be. Even if you feel like it looks a little silly and stuff, it's about the feeling rather than the aesthetic, of course. So I'd like to ask kind of in the chat too, like as we're going through these, have there been any favorite tracks so far that you've been engaging with? Tell us kind of what your favorite songs and maybe some of your innovations that you've liked. Okay, so moving into track 3, we have the song Levitatin'. Love this song. If you're a body stepper, you saw this last round as well. So great to see it back. Just wanted to note a couple of things in arm lines, especially if you're really picky on these. So when we have the up over arms that we used to see as the Highland Fling, when you're reaching up to make a V, pull back to your cheeks with a fist, reach back out to retract, and in this release, instead of going back to your hips, slap the arms towards your butt cheeks. So reach up, close fist, reach up, and back towards your butt cheeks instead of your hips. That will help make the feel and the efficiency of the move feel really fun, lifted and lighted, because again, the song is levitating, so the higher you go, the more we levitate. Woo! And then I also wanted to mention the alternating arm chop. So this is another move that you'll see where we have star fingers and you're just throwing from your forehead. Again, if this doesn't feel super natural for you, in your class maybe is super athletic and isn't about kind of the fun and, well, that sounds funny. They're not trying to do any star arms, you know. It's maybe 5 in the morning and you're not doing jazz fingers, that's okay. You can stick with a running arm. You can throw in a shimmy. You can throw in a cha-cha-cha, whatever. But if you do that move, just keeping the arms towards the front and then just throwing out those star fingers, and just have fun with it, you know? I like to think of throwing confetti or like chopping carrots. I don't know, this move. You tell me what you're feeling when we're going through it. Okay, and then just a couple more highlights. I wanted to chat about track 4, plyometric. So in the chat, if you can tell me, here's another fun song, and I'll take multiple answers for this. What tune is sampled in track 4? What tune is sampled in track 4? You can tell me the original, or you can tell me the like 2005, 2006 sample of this song. And while you're doing that, I'll kind of run through just a couple of things. This song, of course, is going to bring back a nostalgic vibe. Whether you know the title or not, you're going to be like, I remember this tune from somewhere. The track itself, I wanted to clarify, while it is filmed with no participants, once you get back to teaching or if you're teaching online, whatever the midst, you have the choice again to teach this facing participants, or you can split the room as normal. It's totally up to you. For example, at my club, we are able to teach again in person, which is really exciting. So I plan to split the room just as normal with distancing for my participants. So I may not switch sides after each one, but I may turn them in facing each other. Feel free to accommodate how you need to based on where you teach, or if you're teaching online, for example, obviously they'll stay facing forward the camera. I'm still waiting to see if I see any track 4 names. I'll give you a hint, Black Eyed Peas. All right, we'll let that one simmer for a second, and I'll come back and remind me to tell you the answer. Okay, so track 5, going back to our theme, remember, we're switching over to more of a modern song, and the key in this track is options. We want to make sure everyone has an accessible way to fatigue both the upper and lower body and vice versa with this really great. Sorry, I got distracted in the comments. Yes, Leo, Pump It. Pump It was track 4. Pump it louder. No more copyright. This song, well, I've got you. So this song was actually, I wrote this down because I wanted to have all the information. Pump It by Black Eyed Peas is a sample of the 1962 song Miserlou by Dick Dale and his Deltones. So if you want to Google that, Black Eyed Peas Pump It sample, you can hear the original tune from which we get this track for. Super cool. I listened to the 1962 version earlier and it was pretty funky because then I would switch back over to the Attack video and it was like, oh, guitar. What? Okay, so with track 5, the big thing here again is options, just to recap. And you'll notice that we have in this move, or in this track, the lots of hip stability work. And so the lower limbs are working to do a lunge and a side lunge combination. So when you're focusing on these moves, this is important for the setup towards track 6 if you are teaching this in the 45-minute format or the 55-minute format, because we can emphasize hip stability as a layer 2 cue to really help people connect and feel motivated by the work we're doing, to help alignment, to help muscle imbalance. Because when you get to track 6, where we've got the Blue Man Group song, we've got the hurdle lunge combination, where we have a circular knee that's moving to the back and dropping into a lunge. This is just a continuation from track 5 of hip stability and core stability. So this is something you can reference to in track 6 as well. Remember when we moved slow in track 5, now we move faster. Use your core strength to help you drop into the lunge. One other thing I wanted to mention before we kind of wrap up the track by track is that as we increase the demands of our body with speed, like an agility throughout the release, you can reference back track by track, like thinking about the Mambo lunge of first we move slow and then we move quickly. In track 7, we see a lot of this with our lateral work, so we start slower in the shuffle to the side, and then we move faster. And one really important thing that's been helpful for me and kind of being honest with myself and range of motion and stuff is pulling out this little guy. Anybody remember agility ladders? So if you have access to one of these, or perhaps you have some masking tape to tape down the floor, put a square down, practice this track with the physical reminder of how big you can move in these, kind of moving side to side, moving down the line and moving back. This will be really important to just kind of keep your feet on the ball and developing that true reactive speed that we always encourage. And if you are teaching with participants this round, when you do teach 112, you can even, heck, bring in your ladder and put it down the center of the room and do a few of the last ones together. You can also kind of encourage that ladder imagery in your track introduction to really get people thinking about really getting off the spot so that they can benefit from both the lateral plane and being able to work off of what we normally do, moving forwards and backwards at lower speeds than we normally do in real life. And apart from that, y'all, to wrap up this release, we've got track 8, which is a really beautiful song. Again, lots of special traditional moves here, and a very important kind of memorial for our late Adam Bramsky as well there. So just really, take that track and just kind of let the music speak and not focus so much on the words delivered, but rather just getting people set up and let them feel the moment. And again, if you're teaching with participants with 112, you are encouraged to create a circle at the round 3 and bring people into the middle and moving back. Just a really magical way to make this come alive. And then track 9, y'all. So a fun little story with this. So I recommend checking out this track and really paying attention to the layer 1 here. I think that this was a beautiful example of how our body attack coaching model has evolved. What I would encourage you to also note is that the original presenter for this track became injured by something outside the gym, actually, a couple of days before they filmed. And so Nick and Lisa had to just take this track on all of a sudden, and they didn't really have a script ready in terms of, the days and days of preparation. And so what you see here is a really on the spot, kind of in the moment, uh, uh, like example of just kind of how you just get the job done when the job needs to get done, and trusting your skills in the coaching model. Because from release to release, if we can really perfect those skills in coaching the basics of layer one, this is kind of what can happen. We can create those magical moments. We can really get people moving with us, and then helping them apply the intensity and getting them motivated to move. So with that in mind, definitely go back and check out the release, you know, within the next 24 hours of watching this, and just kind of note some of the points I've mentioned. It may even help you too to just jot down some of the things you hear in your choreography notes, so that as you learn this release, when you learn this release, you can really pay attention to some of these key focuses to include in your layer 2 and layer 3 coaching. But most of all, focus on being your greatest, and that will allow your participants to do the same, because we want Body Attack to continue to be a program where everyone can feel a part of it and feel they have a way to enjoy it, whether they're jumping to the sky and out the windows, or they choose to stay grounded the entire time. It's a pretty unique experience that is unlike any other. So with that, I want to ask, what kind of questions do y'all have about Release 12, Body Attack in general, the evolution of what's to come? I'm all ears for you. Just double checking our comments here. Thanks, Dana. Yeah, the shimmies, they come free for the first few, but then you have to pay for them after that, so... So what questions do you have? What are some things that maybe you've been wondering about in the Body Tech universe? We're here together. I'd love to hear them. I've got the track 4 stuck in my head now. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Boom. And while you're thinking through your questions, I'll share too. I did Body Attack in the gym the other day, and in track 9 there's a traveling combination where you run forward, turn around, do a burpee, run forward, turn around, do a burpee. And y'all, oh my gosh, if y'all have been working out outside or like in non-conventional spaces lately, I was in my little apartment gym, and I love the looks that they're like, someone's over there doing like bicep curls, and they're like, what is that dude doing over there? Okay, so Leo says, do you have tips and examples of driving execution cues for the 3-point lunges in track 5? Hi, Leo. Thank you for your question there. I think that with this move, for our body combaters here, for example, you'll be very familiar with seeing this from recent body combat releases. And for those of you that have not done that, is focus clearly on how Nick sets up this move, because he says pivot on the heels to protect the knees, and he coaches a really wide stance in the side lunge as well. So the best way I would suggest taking this into the layer 2 space to improve execution is to focus on the knee bend. So in the lunge, we're bending the back knee underneath the hip. When we turn the body and we're pushing the front knee out, encouraging folks to push in line with second and third toe. Imagine stretching the side of the leg more. Imagine leaving a footprint in the ground behind you. Something about a visual is going to be really helpful for this move, because people are going to, hear your basic compulsory cues in that sense. When you move into wanting to get more from them, draw upon your own experience, maybe with like playing sports or running or just ways you like to move, and use that as an authentic way to give folks an image on what you want them to do exactly. Um, for example, commonly with lunges, we refer to like, being on a narrow railroad track. Summertime coming up, being on the diving board. Can you take your foot further on the diving board or walking the sometimes I think of walking the plank with this move too. I'm like on a thin piece of wood, so stay on the plank of wood, push the wood into the floor. Yeah, those are the first ones that come to mind, but I'm not the only mind here, so other folks in the chat, feel free to share some of your examples of what are some cool ways to drive execution, improve execution, we say, in the 3-point lunges in track 5. What else y'all got? I know you've got some good questions in your head. And if you're watching the recording, by the way, feel free to put these in the comments as well. I'll keep watching this space for the next week to help out if anything comes up after the fact. Kamisha, if you're still here, I know you got a question too. You're a body tech fanatic. And if I can pick on Kamisha, Kamisha is a friend of mine and a presenter on our team. She is a body tech instructor, and she was recently telling us that her participants have been, commenting on how inclusive her workouts feel because of options. And I've been thinking about that a lot this week when preparing for this. How to really make our modifications and options feel like really great choices for everyone. So Kamisha, you are a shining example of that. We need your knowledge. Leo says, perhaps push your hips back like you need to hip check someone behind you. Yeah, and yes, and the more mild form of that as sitting your hips back into a chair, when it comes to side lunges, one of my favorite ways to think of this as a functional move is getting out of the car. Pull off your seatbelt, step out of the car. You're doing a side lunge to get out. So that's one way to engage and educate. But your question was more sort of around improve execution. So I would focus on things that incorporate knee bend, of course, with great alignment, but also a really cool image, something that's going to stick out and catch the ears of people. Leo said, lighthearted, of course. Kamisha, tisk. No, it's okay. Like folks have said here, people are just launching 111 as well. Some of us haven't even taught in a really long time too, and so I acknowledge that, In our last tips and tricks, I wanted to acknowledge that as well. While many clubs are opening, while there are many more opportunities than there were this time a few months ago, we totally see and hear you in terms of the frustrations it is to have teaching opportunities again. So as you're kind of, exploring this release too, just think of the ways that this will continue to develop you and maintain you as a coach. Every release offers us something really cool to focus on. And so for this one, being your greatest, what better time to really focus in on oneself. And when you are able to be back to teaching, you're going to be stronger than ever. All right, y'all, we've got about 2 minutes left on our timetable. I mean, I could stay here all night and honestly just chat about the music itself. But what other questions do you have? This time is all yours. I'm levitating. I wish y'all had video so I could see y'all practicing at home the star arms. Star fingers. I'm levitating. Kamisha says, actually, do you have any tips when learning a new release that are specific to attack? I'm about to hit my 1-year anniversary of teaching, and it still takes a while to learn. Oh, congratulations, Kamisha! Yay! I'm sure many folks are in that same bit, especially if any of you have been through training over the last year within the pandemic times. Kudos to you for, nearing your 1 year. So, when I approach a body attack release, my general process is always the music. And I have to say that's probably a constant for all of my programs. And it sounds a little cliche, but it truly is just a few days of just before I even look into the release, I want to spend the time getting to know that music. One of my trainers from years ago really struck me with the idea that I still do to this day is I write down one word that song really makes me feel. And I don't, say like pop or like energy, but I like really think about what emotion is this pulling out of me? Is there a specific memory in my life that really relates to the song? Like the Blue Man Group song for this one, the running track, I really like it pulls me back to when I was a kid and just like hearing that song playing on my dad's alarm clock radio before we went to bed. So listen up. I don't know why we're listening to that before bed, but I remember it. And so it pulls back some nostalgic feelings for me as a kid. And so I can really play into that inner kid when I learn those moves. And so I do that for all the tracks, one or two words, and I put on a post-it note and I put that post-it note away. I don't look at it. I go and learn my release. And this is addressing your question, of course, of how do we go about learning it. It's just noting that more now than ever, Lisa wants you to be able to come onto a new release and really just get into more of the simplicity of what's happening and focus more on driving the intensity and the fun and the energy. So, taking it 1 to 2 tracks per day, really sitting there, putting the phone away, focusing on that one track or two tracks for that day. Get inside the music and just block it off in your head in terms of those blocks we have. So, for example, in track 2 of this release, we have the Mambo Lunge combo. I want to know how many times I'm doing that key move because I want that to be really solid in my track. And then I remember I have to do that on the other leg. So those 2 blocks, if I can learn one, I just know I have to do that innovation again on the other side. And that way I can really practice the first part of track 2. So, I'll run through that track and practice the new innovations, but really see, okay, am I on the right count? Am I getting the right amount of repetitions? And then once I feel confident in those first 2 blocks, then I learn the last block, where we have more of the fun pieces and something that's changing out with the soft jacks. So if you can break up your track and focus on just 1 to 2 per session that you're learning, that's my biggest suggestion for you. And to pull it back all together, once you're about to go teach or you're preparing to teach it for the first time, pull that post-it note out where you wrote all those great descriptors of each song. And as you're listening to the music, now that you have all of the moves and the technical pieces of your coaching, reframe it with that word. So when I go teach that track 6, for example, I'm going to be kind of in the mindset of an inner child for me, listening to that song on my dad's alarm clock radio. And that's going to help me feel really authentic, as if I'm a speaker of that song. The song is playing through me versus it being behind me. And I think that can help bring the experience alive more, and it can solidify your choreography even more as well. If you have more questions, or if you have some tips that you'd like to share about your own choreography learning, please feel free to throw those in the chat as well. As we're wrapping up, y'all, this is bringing us towards the end of our time together, but I did just want to thank you for what you're doing for Les Mills Body Attack across the United States. While we are moving into just uncharted waters continuously, I'd like to think that the ray of hopes of light that we have seen in the last few weeks are really encouraging. Our members are more motivated than ever to kind of be back in this space. I will share, I've gotten back to teaching Body Attack within the last couple of months, and to my surprise, gosh, like 80% of the people that are there are people who have never been to the gym before. They are people that have never tried group fitness before, and it blew my mind. I was expecting to see the folks in Body Attack that have never done, or who have always done Body Attack to be right back, but it's actually been the people that have never even done it before or done it on demand and have decided to come into a live class. Like, it's pretty impressive. So, hang on if you're not teaching yet. Continue using this as an outlet, at least for your hour of the week, to not be in some of the scarier times, because, Body Attack has been a constant for many of us throughout this pandemic, and it's going to continue to be a loving hug as we move forward into strength. And that's what it's all about, reemerging from adversity to be our greatest. And that's what Body Attack 112 is all about. And with that, y'all, Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. And again, if you have any questions, please throw them into the chat throughout this next week. You're welcome to message me. You can find me on Facebook here, Judson MacDonald, or on Instagram, Judson W Mac. And I'm happy to answer any questions or help you guide through this release. And also tag us, me and Lisa, and use the hashtag BODYATTACKLove on Instagram and Twitter. We love to see how you launch and how you're playing with the release and what your members think. And Lisa really pays attention to that stuff. She loves social media, even though she doesn't know how to turn off a live sometimes. So don't tell her I said that. Oh, last thing, there will be a survey in the comments below. If you'll give us some feedback on what you thought of these Facebook Lives as you go through the week for all your different programs, we'll keep adjusting to make sure these are really useful for you and help you be your greatest. What did I do there? All right, y'all. I'll see you next time. Until then, bye.